Hey everybody, it's GomletX and welcome back to some more Magic Arena. Today I'll be playing a Chromatic Cube draft. The Chromatic Cube draft format, more specifically the Cube draft format, is a format where you will be drafting from a curated list or a cube of cards rather than booster packs of a certain set. So this cube, the Chromatic Cube, is a collection of a lot of the strongest cards on Arena with a focus on a lot of multicolored cards and really big splashy spells. So there's a lot of 5-color cards in this cube, a lot of mana fixing in the cube, stuff like that. Because it is a cube format, it is a phantom draft format, so we don't keep any of the cards we draft today. It's entirely for the fun of the event and the prizes on the tracker. Entry fee is 4,000 gold or 600 gems, and we get escalating prizes based on our number of wins. We get 3 cards pretty much no matter what. Those cards get higher rarity as you get more wins, and at 5 wins is where you break even on gold, so that's where you are in the money. You're just getting 3 cards and all of your gold back that you paid for entry. So other than that, if you're interested in playing this format but you don't like the entry fee, this will also be the midweek Magic format this week, which is very cool. So this Tuesday and Wednesday, the midweek Magic queue will be up where you can play a draft of the Chromatic Cube 100% for free. And then you get to play as many games as you want with that deck as possible. So that'll be a really fun time. If you don't want to pay the entry fee here, if you're saving your gold and gems for Brothers War, since that comes out next week, that makes a lot of sense. So, yeah. Free midweek Magic draft coming up if you're interested in trying it out. But other than that, you can stick around on this channel. I'll be doing a few of these drafts and you can just watch along with me. So without further ado, let's head into our first Chromatic Cube draft. Alright, here we are for pack 1, pick 1 of the Chromatic Cube draft. As always with your early picks in cube drafts, you can kind of go with the cards that you enjoy the most, because the difference between the strongest card in each pack of cube and the weakest card in each pack of cube is a lot smaller than the difference between the strongest and weakest card in a regular booster pack, because you could open a bomb rare and then a bunch of very filler commons. But in Chromatic Cube, that does not really happen. They're all very powerful cards in their own right and their own decks, and the card I'm going to go with today is Uro, Titan of Nature's Wrath. If you see that a card is banned in a ton of formats, it's probably a pretty good indicator. It's a relatively strong card, and this is a really fun ramp card. For 3 mana, you get to gain 3 life, draw a card, and put a land from your hand onto the battlefield. Then later in the game, if you have 5 other cards in your graveyard, you can escape this back to the board, gain 3 more life, draw another card, put another land into play, and you get to do that same thing every time Uro attacks. So Uro is a very good card, and one I'm happy to start with, heading in a green-blue ramp direction. Bunch of other sweet cards here as always. Massacre Worm, kind of a board wipe that makes your opponent lose life. Kaya's a huge planeswalker. So much more that I can't talk through. There's going to be incredibly powerful cards in every pack here, but I'm just going to be taking the ones that I find the most fun, that I think are the best for the kind of decks that I would like to play today. So let's move on now to pack 1, pick 2. We have a Cold Steel Heart. This is actually a lot better than it looks. It's one of the least exciting cards in this pack, but this cube is full of incredibly powerful late game plays, incredibly powerful just big splashy plays. What it is not absolutely full of is great stuff to do early in the game. So if you could fill up your early mana slots with a bunch of mana rocks like Cold Steel Heart, it's a pretty good way to be able to cast a lot of your spells a lot earlier. Also helps mana fix you. Just being able to cast your spells is going to make you have more fun, because you're not going to get mana screwed as often. You're going to have the colors you need. So Cold Steel Heart's a pretty high pickup for me here. Nissa's fine. Enray's Forerunners is fine. We could go Escape to the Wilds. This is another card. It's not showing up, but it was banned in a lot of formats while it was in Standard. It's a really good card draw. It also lets you play multiple lands. I'm not going to take the Snowborn thing. I'm going to go really boring here, go for the Cold Steel Heart. I just think the 2 mana rocks are really nice in this slower kind of cube with a ton of late game plays. See what we have here, pack 1, pick 3. We do have a Giganta the Wellspring, which is interesting. If you can get a companion in your companion slot, it's going to be pretty good value, because you're basically going to start every game with an 8-card hand, so even if it's not that powerful of a card and it only increases your chance of winning by like 2% per game, you have to consider that it's increasing that chance every single game because it's always there in your companion slot. So Gigantha's interesting here. I think I'm not going to go with Gigantha though, because I like Cavalier of Thorns a lot as well in these green ramp decks. Big beefy card, pulls a land out of the top 5, and when it dies you get to return another card from your graveyard back to the top of your library if it's a pretty good card, so Cavalier's sweet. Binding the Old Gods is also quite sweet, a removal spell that also ramps you. It pulls out a land, and in this format with all these non-basic lands, it can even tutor for a dual land, which could mana fix you. I actually might go Binding the Old Gods over that big green mana dork there. I just really love this card's ability to potentially pull out a triome like Aspara's Headquarters. And now we've got, again, incredibly powerful cards in every pack here. Very cheap interaction with Rip Apart, Liliana of the Veil, Vivian Reed for great planeswalkers. Spara's Headquarters is a great triome that fits 2 of our colors. It fits rose, green, and blue, and it is a forest we can tutor off of Binding the Old Gods, which is nice. I might just go Spara's Headquarters here, a little boring, but it's nice to get your mana set up when you see really good dual lands or tri-lands like triomes. It's nice to pick them up. They feel like really boring picks when you first pick them up. It's a lot more fun to play with Vivian Reed than a land, but they're going to let you have more fun in the long run because you'll more consistently be able to actually cast all of your spells every game. It's not that fun to get stuck off of a certain color of mana and just not be able to cast your stuff. So here we are in pack 1, pick 5. Reclamation Sage is fine. A lot of good artifacts and enchantments in this cube. These dual lands aren't great with what we're doing right now, but this pathway is fine. We are currently green, blue, and black. The pathway could be helpful here. Lilia was absurd in the last cube that I drafted it in, just really good in aggressive decks. Basically attacks as a 3-mana 3/3 haste and keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger every time it attacks, while letting you also draw an extra card each turn potentially. Henrika Domnathi is a very good standalone threat. A 3/4 flying Death Touch lifelink is pretty ridiculous. This one also lets you draw a card or have each player sack a creature. Witherbloom Command, not the greatest piece of interaction, but it is cheap interaction, very flexible as well. I'm just going to be a little boring here, and I think go with a pathway again. Don't think I'm really jumping on red quite yet with what I have currently. Ooh, we've got Overgrown Tomb for really good mana fixing. We have Spell Swindle, which does require a lot of mana, but if you counter something big from your opponent, you have the mana to do anything in the world in the next turn. Yarok is a pretty fun one, and Yarok works pretty well with Uro, Titan of Nature's Wrath, and Binding the Old Gods, and Yarok is in the 3 colors that we're looking at already. So I might take Yarok here and try to play a pretty fun enter the battlefield focused deck here, doubling up those abilities. So gaining 6, drawing 2 cards, putting 2 lands into play, destroying 2 non-land permanents. It's as this enters the battlefield, add a lore counter. Actually, okay, it doesn't work as well with Binding the Old Gods as I want it to, because technically the ability that triggers when it enters the battlefield is just that it adds a lore counter. So with Yarok, I believe this just gets 2 lore counters immediately. So if I have Yarok on board and I play Binding the Old Gods, I destroy an online permanent and grab my forest just the turn I play it. I think that's how it works. So not as good with Yarok as I was hoping, but we're still very early in the draft. We're pick 7 now. We can scoop up some other cards with good enter the battlefield effects. Diviner of Fates, don't know a lot about Alchemy, but I know that this card was completely busted and got the huge nerf because of it. It's got an enter the battlefield effect as well. We could double with Yarok. Would need to hop into a 4th color, but you can definitely do 5 color stuff in this cube. No other great enter the battlefield effects. Interceptor's fine. Could take Temple of the Dragon Queen, actually. Be a little boring again. Take another mana fixer. Temple of the Dragon Queen, basically an Evolving Wilds. You just pick whatever color you need it to be when you play it, and it will be that color. Sap Vitality. Double black's a little difficult. 2 mana, 1 color there. Esper Sentinel's a pretty nice card. Touch the Spirit Realm's great interaction. Everything else here is pretty narrow, like Quasi-Duplicate, Double Vision, and Neith. This is for like a big green monsters deck. This is for a spells deck. This is, I don't even know what quasi-duplicate's in here for. I might just take the interaction here, take the Touch the Spirit Realm for some removal. Green-blue duel, don't mind if I do. Search for Azcanta is pretty nice in controlling decks with a really high non-creature count. It's probably the closest to something else I would play, but Botanical Sanctum, pretty easy pickup. Did wheel and end raise Forerunners. Tiamat is still in here as well if I want to try to do 5-color dragons, but I don't have any other dragons yet. That seems like probably the hardest build around in the whole cube, trying to get Tiamat to pop off. This Kama's pretty cool if I go really rampy and I get a lot of red and white sources in the deck. I think I'd rather just take Escape to the Wilds. Huge card draw, we just need that 1 red mana to get to it, potentially. Maelstrom Archangel feels like you already have to jump through a ton of hoops before it starts doing anything. You need to hit 1 mana of every color already, so at that point, there's not going to be a lot of spells in your hand that you can't already cast, but it does let you double spell easily. So Pathway or Giganta, I'm actually going to go Pathway. I was thinking of Giganta there because I was like, currently I can still play Giganta as my companion, but I found that Giganta is one of the hardest companions to actually end up in your deck. It's one of the ones that feels the most like you have to actively change your deck makeup to get it to work. I guess not the most like that, but it just does feel like that to at least a little bit of an extent. I'm just going to keep taking duels here over the double black card. So we're open to anything next pack. Okay. Pack 2, pick 1. What do we have? Fable of the Mirror Breaker. That's a pretty busted card. Multi-format all-star. Destroying many constructed formats. For 3 mana, you get a 2/2 goblin that gets to spit out treasure tokens every turn. Then you get to discard up to 2 cards, draw that many cards. Then you get a Kiki Jiki down that can start duplicating one of your creatures every turn. I'm going to take Fable of the Mirror Breaker. Just excellent, excellent, excellent card here. Only requires 1 red mana, so it's not a difficult splash. We've got a really good mana base right now. Rafine's Tower would be a pretty sick wheel. Get another Triome in the deck. Yeah, pretty happy to take the Fable of the Mirror Breaker. Pack 2, pick 2 now. We've got a Kinnan Bonder Prodigy, which is very, very good if you have a lot of mana rocks, a lot of permanents, non-land permanents that tap for mana. Kinnan gives you a huge mana sink kind of win condition off that 7 mana ability there. Right now we only have 1 though. We just have a Cold Steel Heart for non-land cards that tap for mana. Kinnan still has that huge late game effect, but yeah. Might take Leyline Binding. Really efficient interaction in a 5-color deck like we're kind of heading towards here. Just a 1 mana Oblivion Ring at instant speed if we have all 5 land types out. Leyline Binding does feel very, very good. Dryad of the Elysian Grove is another great one. This is going to make our mana base just perfect. Every land we control is every basic land type, and it's going to let us play extra lands each turn. So Dryad's great, Leyline's great. I'm going to go for the Leyline, though. More removal in here. Maze Mind Tome's a pretty good, cheap play. And again, there's not a lot of those in this cube. As you can see, we have 1 2-mana card so far, so important to pick up more. Pretty good way to keep you fueled throughout the game. We could take this red-black dual land. We could take the cheap interaction that is Braid to blow up a creature or artifact. Not a super massive fan of anything else in this pack. Some pretty aggro red cards. And then a double green card, double black card. Tome, Braid, or Summon. I'm going to take the Tome here. Get a little bit of card draw on the deck. Give us something to do with our mana early in the game. Okay, Ravenous Chupacabra is super sick with Yarok. I kind of realized I totally forgot about the Yarok game plan, but Chupacabra is sweet with Yarok and pretty good by itself. That being said, this pack is excellent. There's also a Maelstrom Pulse here. 3 mana, destroy any target non-land permanent, and it blows up all duplicates of that card as well. Ren and 7's a really good Planeswalker, spitting out a gigantic Tree Folk immediately, and then if you plus Ren and 7 a little bit, you get to spit out another one. Mirari's Wake is huge. Double up your mana for the rest of the game. I think I'm going to go Chupacabra. It's not that much worse than Maelstrom Pulse at face value, and it's way better when we have a Yarok on board. Meat Hook Massacre, the original, the unnerfed version. So interesting that it's the unnerfed version. This is a cube with some alchemy cards in it, but they have some non-rebalanced cards in it as well, which is definitely nice. That would be really sad if this was the nerfed Meat Hook Massacre. So this card's absolutely busted. Obviously banned in Standard because of how good it is. It's a huge board wipe effect. It also drains your opponent for a ton of life when you play it. So really good interaction. Just wipe the board, get those creatures out of here. I'm going to take that. It's between that, Cut Down, and a couple duels, but I'm going to take the Meat Hook Massacre. Card is just absurd. It also doubles up its effect with Yarok if I don't have the mana to make a high enough X count, but I have a Yarok on board, then Yarok will double up that X for me. Lyrios, I guess, works with Yarok. Which is kind of cute. Null Priest works with Yarok. Hornet Queen works with Yarok and is a huge brick wall. It makes it really hard for your opponent to attack in, but it's also triple green, so it's like really hard to cast Hornet Queen. I'm gonna go with Lyrios here. Little dorky card there. Double up a Voracious Hydra ability. Could be mega massive. Wow, there's gonna be some scary aggro decks in this cube if they put Embercleave in here. Yikes. We're gonna go for Voracious Hydra. Kami War is a very strong card. Exile a non-land permanent opponent controls, then bounce one of their cards and make them discard a card, and then get a gigantic 6/6 flying trampler that keeps bringing cards from your graveyard back to your hand. Kami War is excellent. I will scoop that up. Alright, looks like people are taking the lands this pack because I scooped them all up pack 1 and now they're worried they're not going to have mana fixing in their deck. Fair enough. But I was hoping to wheel some lands here based on how the lands were just flying around in pack 1. I'll take Tolsamir here. That's Nightmare Shepherd is fine too. Kind of nonsense stuff here. We got a good chunk of blue and black. We'll take the blue-black duel. Play a Boseiju over a forest. It gives you a naturalize whenever you're flooding out. I guess Fibblethip would be a draw 2 if we have Yarok on board, but that's not the biggest enter the battlefield effect to double up. Alright, never mind. Dual lands are still definitely here. I think I'd rather have Dreamroot Cascade than Hinterland Harbor. It doesn't look like we're going to have a lot of lands with basic land types in our deck overall. It's 11 lands in here? Uh-oh. So we have 18 non-lands in this deck. We're going to have to run just every non-land card that we took. Oof. Noxious Gearhulk is absurd. This pack is full of absurd cards, but I really like Noxious Gearhulk in the cube because it's a huge way to stabilize. You're blowing up your opponent's biggest threat and gaining a ton of life. Obviously, if you have Yarok on board, you're doing that twice, which is absurd. This pack is absolutely incredible, and I'm sad I can't take multiple cards. There's also an Essica's Chariot, the unnerfed version, so a 4-mana vehicle that makes 2 2/2s, which is enough to crew it, and then every time the vehicle attacks, it makes another copy of any token you control. Ridiculous card. Wandering Emperor is nuts, one of the best planeswalkers ever printed. Flashes in, exiles something, and then starts spitting out Samurai every turn or giving first strike. Wandering Emperor's nuts. We've got the Prismatic Bridge, which is a really fun card to draft around, but I'm just going to go for that really good interaction, really good stabilization that the Noxious Gearhulk provides. Oracle Moldiah is a very good value play, letting you play lands from the top of your library and play extra lands every turn. I like that quite a lot. There's also a Triome here, though, which is going to help a lot with the mana base, and we are 5-color nonsensy stuff, so a Triome seems like a huge pickup, and those are not wheeling, even though dual lands are. Hard choice. Again, I already have 11 lands here, which means I have 19 non-lands. I need 4 more non-land cards in this deck, so I should probably take the really strong ones pretty highly. I do have a lot of legends in here. I forgot Arena doesn't tell me how many, so Joda could be strong too, giving all of our legendaries Cascade. But I'm going to go with Oracle Moldiah. Maybe we can wield the Joda. What do we have now? Ruinous Ultimatum, really hard to cast. You need exactly perfect mana. Menagerie Curator is actually the nuts. If you've never played with this card before, I understand it is an alchemy card, but this thing lets you draw a card every time you cast a creature that doesn't share a creature type with a creature in your library. So if your deck is just a bunch of random card types like ours is, you basically draw a card every time you cast a creature. And it helps you mana fix for those creatures, getting a mana of any color. So Menagerie Curator is a really, really good mana dork that I'm pretty happy to take here. Green-blue pathway is excellent. Inscription's fine. I think we have better interaction than that. Yeah, nothing super, super strong here. I think I'll just go with the pathway. I suppose Callous Blood Mage is probably the best Yarok synergy in the pack, but I think we've got plenty to work with Yarok by now. We can't have the whole deck rely on Yarok being out, because we're not going to draw Yarok in every game. We're only going to draw Yarok in probably a little less than half, statistically speaking. Nantuko Slicer is another nuts alchemy card. 4 mana 3/2 that returns something from your graveyard to your hand. If you kicked it, you return a card from your graveyard to hand and conjure a card from your opponent's graveyard to your hand. So it's like a bigger Eternal Witness that brings more things back. Card is absurd. We could also take interaction, but you know, let's just let everybody do all of their fun things and see who does the biggest funnest thing. And whoever does the biggest funnest thing will win, because I'm not gonna blow up their threats that often. We've got Leyline Binding, Noxious Gear, Hulk, Chupacabra. Hopefully stuff like that is just enough. Let's see. Triump's huge here. Really big win condition, Titan of Industry. Massive, massive creature. Obviously ridiculous with Yarok. Yep, take a Triumph or take another gigantic dork. Just gonna take a gigantic dork. Probably dumb, but oh, it's fun. Big old dork. Not too much going on here. Triple red is a little difficult. I don't think I'm going to take another big dork on the triple red front. Could take Timeless Witness. Get that double Eternal Witness with Yarok. Could take a Midnight Reaper here. Cruelty of Gix was super busted in Dominar United. I have to imagine it's still pretty good in Cube. Make your opponent discard the best creature planeswalker from their hand, then search your library for whatever card you need, and then return the best card from a graveyard to the board. Stomping Ground here. Yep, I mean, Gilded Lotus is fine, but we don't have too much that costs more than 5 mana, especially because Leyline Binding is like a 1-drop in our deck. We'll take Stomping Ground. Wield the Prismatic Bridge. Ooh, don't want to go with that. We also wield Essica's Chariot. Good lord. Essica's Chariot or Prismatic Bridge? It's the big question here. Both are ridiculous. Crossroads is fine. Don't really have other token production, so I'm going to take the Essica here. Cast some Prismatic Bridges. I do think I have a lot of legends, so Joda did wheel, and we could go with Joda. Although there's a Triumph I should probably take. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Okay, that's less legends than I thought. Only 5. One of them is the Meat Hook Massacre, which would be terrible to cascade into. I'll actually take the Triumph. Sad. Today will not be a Joda day. This is all just not good for us, right? Probably not. Maybe a Crackle with powers like interaction. Ruinous Ultimate is way too hard to cast. I don't know. I'll take the duel. Maybe we'll need that. Alright, probably not going to play any of this. Take the duel again. Take the duel again. Helene and Elena's busted. Vorinclex is also busted. I'm going to go Helene and Elena though. They just turn your mana dorks into like win conditions so quickly. 2 +1/+1 counters on a creature every turn, and you give haste to whatever you put the counters on. Ridiculously aggro card, one of the mega bombs for Innistrad Crimson Vow. Well, that's so funny. I have 17 non-basic lands. So there are some lands that I took that I will probably have to cut. Because right now we have absolutely no choice how much of each color we have represented. It's just whatever we drafted. And we're probably going to need more green sources than we currently have. So we'll have to cut some of the more off colors to get more green sources. Although, I mean, look at this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 green sources? That's how many sources you want of your main color, 8 or 9. That's exciting. Maybe the mana base is just excellent. So we have 8 green. We'll just go Wooburg order from there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 white. For blue. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 blue as well. For black, we have... Okay, this might be where we have to cut a land. Because it looks like for black we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we have double black abilities. A lot of them. 6 is not horrible though, but we only barely need red and white. And white we had 8 as well, I believe. We had 7 or 8 white sources. Only color I haven't checked so far is red, and we don't need that much red. Okay, we only have 5 red sources, but I only need like 5. Any like really good cut to get another swamp in here, another black source in? Actually not a really easy cut to get another black source in. Because like all of our white sources are also red sources, and I actually do want like 5 red sources. I could go down to 4 red sources. We only have 4 red cards in the whole deck. We have Cold Steelheart, Essica, Menagerie, Curator, Temple of the Dragon Queen for any color. Maybe we cut like a Temple of Triumph for 1 natural swamp. And that's where we go here. So I can hit my important double black cards like Meathook Massacre. I think I will cut that Temple of Triumph. And yeah, it automatically adds a swamp. It agrees with me there. It's like, yeah, you need some more black sources in here, friend. All right, cool. So we've got that mana base ready. Let's cut 4 cards now. We'll double check the mana base after I cut cards. You know, maybe I cut all the double black cards and it's like, okay, well, maybe I should put the temple back in if that's the case, but let's see. I don't really want Nashi. I'm not doing a lot of ninjutsu nonsense here. I like all of my non-creatures. I think they're all great interaction. Yeah, pretty much all of them. Spell Swindle's the only one that's like potentially worthy of a cut because we're just going to be tapping out for a bunch of big stuff. So not going to be holding up the mana for that 5 mana counterspell very often. I love that I have Yarok, and then everything that I have that costs 5 or greater is just like huge enter the battlefield effects, like Tolsimir, Noxious Gear Hulk, Titan of Industry. And if it works the way that I want it to with Sagas, then Kami War just immediately enters the battlefield and gets 2 lore counters. But because the ability's in parentheses, I don't know if it's even a triggered ability, or if it's just a static effect of Sagas, like this just naturally happens, it doesn't trigger any abilities. Like as this enters the battlefield, not when this enters the battlefield, so as this enters the battlefield, put a lore counter on it, not when this enters the battlefield. I don't think Sagas trigger with Yarok. We'll find out soon enough. But because it's worded that way, I think if there's some creature that says as this enters the battlefield, or if it says like this creature enters the battlefield with 2 +1/+1 counters on it, I don't think it doubles that up because it has to be something that says when this creature enters the battlefield, put 2 +1/+1 counters on it, or when this enters the battlefield, do this. We'll find out. I mean, we're definitely not like changing the deck around that because our Sagas are great, but would be interesting to see. Obscure Interceptor again, trying to hold up instant speed stuff seems a little rough in this deck. A lot of good stuff to just tap out for every turn. So cut the kind of instant speed interaction. Polymorphist is fine. It's a pretty good draw late game when our opponent's got like a Titan of Industry on board and then we just, all right, draw a different creature please. I don't want to deal with that one. Yeah, this seems reasonable. Cut the instance and the Nashi, and then we just need to find one more cut somewhere in here. Illyrios is like the most mediocre card, but it does blocking pretty well. We block with a 3-2, then we untap Illyrios and block with a 2-3, and if we have a Yarok on board, we get to block with multiple 3-2s, and then a 2-3. So it slows things down, keeps us covered a bit, which I enjoy. Definitely don't want to cut any of the 2-mana cards. We've got like none of those. Essica could be the prismatic bridge sometimes. Elena and Elena doesn't actually look like it makes that much sense in here. I feel like we have enough just like big game-ending creatures. We don't have that many of them, but the ones that we do really end the game, like Titan of Industry and Kami War. So just trying to buff up our little dorks doesn't seem ridiculous. It's another option. A lot of value graveyard recursion with that Nantuko Slicer. That's going to be sweet. I'll keep the Balmy Helena and Lena, cut the Illyrios here. Might be the wrong way to cut those, but we can reassess the deck later, and the deck looks fun. That's the most important part. We'll see what kind of 5-color nonsense we get to pull off as we move into the deck overview. Alright, here we have it, our first Chromatic Cube deck, this time around the November 2022 Chromatic Cube. We drafted a ton of dual lands to just get to play kind of whatever we wanted to draft. The main synergy piece that we took that we drafted around a little bit was Yarok the Desecrated. So we have Yarok here doubling up enter the battlefield effects. We have Uro Titan of Nature's Wrath with that huge enter the battlefield that can get doubled. Obscura Polymorphist can get doubled, exiling 2 of our opponent's creatures. Ravenous Chupacabra can get doubled, destroying 2 of our opponent's creatures. Nantuko Slicer can get doubled, returning multiple cards from our graveyard and potentially conjuring multiple cards from our opponent's graveyard. Tolsimir can make multiple wolves. Gearhulk can destroy multiple creatures. Titan of Industry can get even more abilities, more rhinos, more shield counters, more artifact enchantment destruction. And Voracious Hydra can get quadruple +1/+1 counters or double fight. So a lot of fun Yarok stuff to do in here mainly, but other than that, we're just like 5-color ramp good stuff. Really, really excellent mana base, tons and tons of non-basics. We have like 6 sources at least of pretty much every color. So our mana should be pretty consistent. We've got some good removal, some interaction for really big bombs from our opponent. Leyline Binding, binding the old gods and touch the spirit realm. We've got the board wipe from Meathook Massacre if our opponent is aggressive. And a lot of good card draw between Escape to the Wilds, drawing 5 cards. Nantuko Slicer drawing cards out of the grave. Essica, or not Essica, where is it? Oracle Moldiah, letting us pull out additional lands off the top to draw, Maze Mind Tome to draw, and Menagerie Curator, potentially drawing us a card pretty much every time we cast a creature. So really consistent deck here. It has pretty much everything you want. We've got card draw, we've got removal, and we've got bombs, and hopefully that's enough to lead us to victory as we head into the gameplay. Okay, here we are in game 1. The hand's a little risky. It's only a 2-lander. But we have every color except for red, and we have Menagerie Curator ramping us up for casting creatures, and most of the hand is creatures that we can ramp up with the Curator to. We're also on the draw, which is helpful for a 2-lander, so I am going to keep it, but there is risk here. We could get punished by the draws. Alright, no land yet, but we still have one more draw step to get there. And there it is, Storm-Carved Coast. Thank you, Temple of Silence. Very good scry for us. Now we can feel comfortable that we're hitting a 3rd mana turn 3. Opponent's going to start with a Black Market Connections they can use to get a treasure token every turn to really set up their mana. Play a Storm-Carved Coast. I believe I'm just going to play the Menagerie Curator and pass. And then we're going to start playing a creature every turn. I think we probably have another human in the deck, so I don't think we get to draw a card off casting Lena and Lena. I'm incorrect. We only have one human in the deck. Wow, our deck is really good with Menagerie Curator. Toski, Bearer of Secrets is the play here. I wish that that was not indestructible, because that needs to die if they're going to keep getting 3/2s here. They're going to draw extra cards every turn pretty easily, so I might have to just touch the Spirit Realm here. If it didn't have indestructible, I would just Chupacabra, draw a card, and blow something up, but yeah, the way it stands, I think we just need to exile that. So unfortunately for us, our deck is not very aggressive, so we don't really get to make use of the fact that our opponent has shot themselves in the face for 9. So they can just kind of sit here getting a lot of great value off his black market connections without much risk. That being said, if they can't blow up their own black market connections, they are on an 11-turn clock, because you cannot choose not to pay life. They always have to at least make the treasure token. So there's a Karn on the board now. That's not ideal. What do we do about it? Not a lot here. We are missing our land drops again, which is unfortunate. Chupacabra the Construct and draw a card. Might have another beast in the deck. Got a Horror in the hand, but not in the library. Polymorphing a token feels really bad for me. So we're just letting our opponent draw another creature for very little value. Yeah, I guess we're just going to Chupacabra. And we did hit the land, so very happy about that. Blow up the Construct, and Chupacabra is big enough to block the 3/2 body there. Opponent dropping down to 7. Getting very aggressive with those black market connections.
Introduce you to a friend of mine.
Yikes, Storm the Festival. Look at the top 5 cards of their library, pick 2 permanents with mana value 5 or less, put them into play. They just found 2 lands, but that's still pretty good. You can play a Yarok now with an Antuco Slicer to bring back Chupacabra to cast it and double Yarok. Probably the play. I believe our opponent is going to get to, is likely going to get to blow up our Yarok here though, which is not great. I have another Elemental in the deck. Oh, I do. Titan of Industries and Elemental. Good to know. So we don't get the card draw there. Unfortunate. One of these goes in our opponent's hand. There's exiled with a silver. These are both really bad for me. Probably give them Nissa. I feel like. Essica's Chariot with a Karn Construct token on the board just feels devastating. Sheoldred, hello. Sack Menagerie Curator then. And there will be no more card draw to be gained. Polymorph Sheoldred away. Get to double polymorph here. There's nothing else to polymorph though. 3, 4, 5, 6. This only taps for mana for creatures, so I can't cast Kami War either way. Rough. Pretty sure I have to just polymorph here. That Sheoldred. It's up to 1 creature, so I can choose not to do the second one. See, I'll just target Sheoldred twice. I'm not going to give them a creature card exiling one of those. Alright, they have 6 turns to kill me. Noxious Gearhulk, that will probably do it. Yarok is gone now. They gain a bunch of life. They're back up to 10, now they have 10 turns.
The choices we make reveal who we are.
Yep, this is rough. Kept the 2-lander. I've just been hitting my lands a little too slow. Missing a few land drops. Was relying quite a bit on card draw from the curator to get there, and then I only drew 1 card off of it. Which is awkward. Opponent's got Sagas and Planeswalkers galore for maximum value just popping off every turn. They've drawn so many cards out of their library, they're 9 cards ahead of me. They have 15, we have 24. Should probably be playing 18 lands in here. This definitely feels like the kind of format that whoever hits the most mana first wins. They just get to deploy all the kind of ridiculous threats that exist in this format. So I'm actually going to cut a card for an 18th land here. Because missing a few land drops there was incredibly deadly. We had a lot of really big action we could have potentially done, but we just were going to deploy it so slowly that it wasn't going to matter. Like, maybe I just cut this Maze Mind Tome. I don't really think I'll have mana to or time to sit here just drawing cards off that thing. I'd rather just have another land in the deck. Just another swamp, I guess. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, 7 black sources is solid. Maybe I should have went Swamp Forest. They do have a triple green card in this deck, but I do have 8 green sources already. Probably Swamp Forest for the basics, but we definitely should be running 18 lands here. That was a biggest flaw last game, not really like a gameplay issue, just we didn't draw enough lands, and that could be a deck building issue. Probably an 18 land deck, and this is probably more like an 18 land format in general. Alright, we've got every color but red. Could play the temple on red, but I've got a bunch of double green, triple green in hand, so I think I'd rather play the temple on green here. Black would be fine too, helps us get to the Gearhulk. Alright, well, I have an 18 land deck this time, so cannot say too much about just missing a 4th land drop. That'll just happen sometimes. This is so brutal. Okay, yeah. We pretty much lose. I'm pretty sure. Again, for the same reason. It's just like if you hit less mana than your opponent, That's kind of what this format entirely revolves around, is just whoever's getting the most mana out first to play their big cards. And we are just not hitting our mana. Kept a 3-lander this time too, and missed a land drop still with the 18 land deck. Probably have to just exile Golos here, but our opponent has 7 mana up next turn if they hit another land drop. Fibblethip to draw a card, looking for that land drop maybe. Paradise Druid for more mana. Alright. At least they missed a land drop there. Eventually. I can play this pathway on red. I kind of want to just meat hook for 1 and get their mana dork off the board. I can't Gear Hulk it away because the hexproof, and it kills the Fibblethip as well. It's going to take a million mana to meat hook stuff like Beanstalk Giant later. Alright, there they go. 7th land drop, Beanstalk Giant it is. Let's just gain a million life and kill that. Draw our first Menagerie Curator card. Start getting in. Okay, we've balanced things out here. Luckily, our opponent missed a land drop or 2. And now we're at the 7 or 8 mana we need to cast pretty much everything. Their Storm the Festival hits a land and a mana dork. We've got a Yarok I can play before I play a Menagerie Curator, which is sick. I do have another elemental, another horror in the deck, so I won't draw a card off playing Yarok, but still pretty big. Still just gonna play it here. So we have the Ravenous Chupacabra, that is a horror. Could play Titan of Industry and just make 4 rhinos. With Yarok on board. Oh no, I Luna on Incubation Druid. They get to flip a random card from the top. Flip till they hit a non-land permanent, put it into play. Menagerie Curator of their own. Good card, but not that scary here. Green, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I could play Voracious Hydra and kill both their creatures. Seems pretty reasonable. Then I hit for 9. Green, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I can actually do 7. I kill both their creatures and keep Hydra down. Oh, and there's the Chupacabra for double Chupacabra. I think I'm just going to kill both here. I could have a really big Hydra. Uh-oh. Some kind of trick here. Nope. They are both gone. So guarantee that swing for 8. They're down to 5. And recast the Storm the Festival, see what they hit here. Is it enough to keep them alive? Maybe. Terror of the Peaks Helena and Elena is insane. Now they get a Terror of the Peaks trigger. Not enough to kill anything, luckily for us, but they get 2 Great Henge triggers to make those bigger, draw some cards. They only have 1 mana up here, so double Chupacabra should probably get there. Yep, and they're gonna scoop them up. That is going to be lethal. So some pretty big takeaways that game. I think I agree with that general assessment where most matchups, when we're both playing 3+ color nonsense, are going to come down to whoever can get to the high mana first. It's kind of a race to the big 6 mana, 7 mana plays. So I definitely think decks like the deck I'm currently running should probably go up to 18 lands. There are going to be some matches that aren't like that. You can definitely draft like a 2-color synergy-driven, very aggressive strategy, especially with cards like Embercleave in the format, like a red-green Embercleave monstrosity or a red-white Embercleave kind of deck. So it's not going to be every matchup that comes down to that, but this deck really wants to hit super high mana values, so I think 18 lands is pretty correct here. And yeah, luckily for us, we still stumbled on a couple land drops, but not as badly, and our opponent missed a couple land drops as well, which gave us the time we needed to start slamming down our own stuff. So it is going to be 1-1 heading into game 3. All right, here we are on the play. Curator turn 2, always going to be pretty sweet. Go ahead and keep that here. Just get the tapped land out of the way while we don't need the mana right now anyway. And then we drop the Curator. Turn 4 Oracle Moldiah, or turn 3 Oracle Moldiah potentially here. I'm gonna go for it. There we go, we hit an extra land off of it as well. Really, really good start to this game. Everything we draw is gonna be revealed now, so... Oh, am I playing Dominar United draft? I feel like I went into the wrong queue. These are some bangers from Dominar United, though. Some sweet cards. Uh-oh. Knowing that I'm not going to hit another land after this is pretty bad. Like Polymorph Darien here. If they sack Darien in response, that's just good for me, because then they're not going to draw a creature off of this ability. So I'm pretty okay with Darien having the sack outlet. Okay, they're not going to sack Darien, they're going to seek the random creature. And there we go, we hit the lands. Oracle of Moldiah popping off, thank you so much. Busted card, we're at 6 mana now. We've drawn a ton of extra cards because we've drawn our lands from the top of our deck. We've drawn our non-lands from Curator. Excuse me. We are set up really well here. Okay. Opponent has an Elas Ilkor, that's about it. Do I set up the Yarok here again? Or do I just blow that thing up and get swinging? I'm only swinging for 5. I think I set up the Yarok first, because I am only swinging for 5. I could bind it. It's not super necessary though. And I can hold this up as an instant for something else on their next turn. Despark the Yarok, that's very sad. So much for the Yarok setup. Tristani Discordant. Okay, so I will exile that. They still get the tokens though. So they still gain quite a bit of life, and they have some chump blockers set up. Okay. Oh, I don't have a red source for Kami War yet. That's kind of awkward. Oh, I should have tapped Curator so I could play Cold Steel Heart in the same turn, because Curator can only get mana for creatures. Awkward. Could have had my red mana at the ready from that. Wow, opponent is very much a token deck. All kinds of token production. Well, there's the red mana anyway. Off the top, pretty beautiful. Kami War that. Just kind of do whatever we want over here. With our Oracle Moldiah just popping off for mana. Draw a card when we play this, pick up a card from grave. Got a Meat Hook Massacre at the ready. These 5-color Chromatic Cube decks are just insane when they pop off with that early mana. Just feel like an absolute bully. Player sacks a dork? Sure. I could kill the cat and make them discard a card, but shoot the Henrika here. Get that out of the way. Titan of Industry, get some rhinos. Rhino. Oh, I can't make 2 rhinos. I have to choose a different ability. Should be rude and kill a Mind Stone, make them sack it to draw a card here. So they don't have the mana from it anymore. They're stuck down to 5 mana. Cool. Alright, they need a board wipe or they're quite dead. I'm sure there are several better lines I could have made throughout this game. We're kind of just steamrolling over here. We just have a million options that are all tremendously powerful every turn. Yeah, I was gonna say, just get rid of that Nethroi. That leaves them with 1 life-linking power, and we definitely have lethal after that's gone. So we are 2-1 now, heading into Game 4. Here we go, Game 4. We have 1 piece of early interaction to try to keep us alive. 3-land hand, very powerful late-game plays. Just gonna keep it, hope for the best. We do need a red source for this Escape to the Wilds later. Need a blue source for this Yarok. Clone Crafter, duplicate a random creature from my library into their hand. That could be very bad for me. There are some pretty good creatures in this deck. I'll probably wait to play the Seiju until I know I'm not drawing another green source, because if I flood out with a million green sources off the top, it'll be nice to be able to use it to blow up something. Okay. Nothing I want to exile with this Touch the Spirit Realm yet, so let's get the tap land out of the way. Pulsamir. I need double green for that? It's a little rough. I'm going to scry that away. Opponent's stuck on 2 mana, I just now realized. They played a 2-drop turn 2 and a 2-drop turn 3. They did hit the 3rd land, turn 4 here. They're still on just blue-white. Forsaken Crossroads on white. Pretty big sign that our opponent might just be in 2 colors. And that is it. I don't know what counterspells are in this cube. Probably supposed to play around them, but I'm just going to slam down Oracle Moldiah. Alright. Do get to play the extra land here, which is good. I don't have any triple black cards, so let's just get another white source, I guess. Alright, they're just going to draw a card off Reckoner Bankbuster and probably throw a regular removal spell at the Oracle Moldiah. And they are just blue-white. Polymorphist. So we get to seek a creature. Ooh, if I had a blue source, that would be so cool right now. Essica, the god of the tree. Prismatic Bridge. Well, I drew the Meat Hook Massacre again. That's a thing. I think I'd rather just escape to the wilds right now. Meat Hook Massacre next turn. We're looking for more mana. Is there anything I can do if I play 2 untapped lands this turn? Yes, I can go Dreamroot, Clifftop Retreat. No, Clifftop Retreat comes into play tapped. So I can't play 2 untapped lands this turn no matter what. So I cannot play Cold Steel Heart, so we play just the best lands. Now Clifftop is untapped, though. Which is interesting. But I guess I just play another one of these next turn, doesn't matter. History of Benalia, alright, Meat Hook. Let's do some things. This would be super good if they pay 2 mana, play another creature here. Alright. So I don't have enough black sources to Meat Hook for 2 and play Binding the Old Gods, which is sad. So only have the 2 black sources. Yeah, I should have played this thing on black so I could do a double black spell and a single black spell. Yeah, that caught me into a corner here. I think we're just have to let these stay exiled and get no value. Don't really have much else to do with my mana here after this. I probably should have done this for 3, because my only other spells are 3 mana at the most that I can cast right now. Well, this is the alchemy version of Meat Hook Massacre. I did not notice that during the draft. Alright, I'm just going to Cold Steel Heart, because I would like to play the Essica as a Prismatic Bridge. I'm going to get a black source so I can play Call Me War and Cruelty in the same turn, potentially. Well, that sucks. I swear when I looked at this in the draft pod, it was not the alchemy version, but I could just be going crazy. Yeah, I was hoping for that life gain there when I cleared the board. Well, never mind then. Oof, they got a Toll Smear out of my deck. That's not great. That is not great. If I touch the Spirit Realm Tulsimir, because this is a conjured duplicate, it is their copy, so they will get it back. I can't exile it and then have it enter on my board here. Could touch the Bank Buster to take less damage here. I look pretty dead. Little fog here. They get one of their counters back. That doesn't really matter. I just need to survive right now. Uro is gained 3 life here. Still have Wooburg after this. Yep. We still have the Kami War. Wait, what? Oh my god, yeah, it auto-tapped Boseiju. Here went Boseiju Dreamer. Okay, so I should have had 5 color after this still. Well, it wanted to leave a Swamp and a Cold Steel Heart up, so I had triple black here afterwards for my 1 Cruelty of Gix. Well, I can recur something from a graveyard. Pick up a Polymorphist. Can't really afford to lose the 3 life right now. Yeah, this is the only spell I can cast now then. Well. Might rather just Uro again. Because I guess the Polymorpher chump blocks too. It gives them another card. I'll just pick up a Clone Crafter and just do a chump block. Stops just as much damage as Uro. Uro gains 3. We get a Cemetery Illuminator from their library. I guess it stops 1 more damage because we get to block a Knight here if they can't kill this Clone Crafter. Even if they kill the Clone Crafter, it's not quite lethal. Yeah, that auto tap was pretty horrific. I thought it was tapping in a way that I could still cast the Kami War, but it was not. So I should have manually tapped that out. See, that is an instance where they get to get the card back with Touch the Spirit Realm, because Cruelty of Gix is not an alchemy card, so that is their copy that I put onto the board. Oh yeah, they can just kill me with Bankbuster. Forgot about Bankbuster getting in for damage as well, so we were dead to removal there. So 2 and 2, it's gonna be a pretty rough game there. Heading into game 5. Alright, here we go, game 5. Opponents on the play. Definitely not a fan on that. Our deck's pretty slow and the hand is no different, but I am still going to keep this hand. We have interaction. We have every color in the game. All we need is to draw big game-ending threats, and we can wait to draw those until later. I like the Curator a lot. It's going to play a little off curve here, which is awkward, but it's still worth it for that card draw if my opponent does not have the removal for it. I don't like the new... I feel like it used to give you 2 options and it said enters tapped or pay 2 life, and now it just gives you the 1 option that's like decline. That's way less clear to me. It takes me like an extra second or two to play my Shocklands now. With the two options, it was like incredibly clear to me what was going on. Blow up Prosper. Minkskin Boo coming down is not good for us. Card's pretty absurd. Basically a 5-mana 4/4 trample haste that comes with a planeswalker beside it, which is pretty good.
Look at us. We are tough.
Yeah, Minkskin Boo's a really bad time for me. So even if I kill the hamster, it just comes right back. If I don't kill the hamster, it's a 7/7 now. 5 mana to play around. Got a Cruelty of Gix. Got a Tolsimir. It's not big enough to fight anything. I can exile the hamster, but they get it right back. Cannot blow up the Planeswalker. Pick up their own Prosper here. It's kind of interesting. It's a Death Toucher. Now we get an extra card. So yeah, we need to find removal that can blow up a Planeswalker again.
Magic? We have muscle.
I could have theoretically waited on the Binding of the Old Gods and used that on Minkskin Boo. I definitely had to kill Prosper, and I didn't really want to give them a card off the Polymorphist, and I wanted to pull out a land, so that's why I went for the Binding. Probably would have, especially since I drew a Touch the Spirit Realm, it would have went better if I just waited and used the Binding on the Minkskin Boo. But I had reasoning for not doing that, so I'm not that mad about it. 7 mana. Kill Atsushi, hit Minkskin Boo for 4 here. Yeah. And Atsushi's gonna give them cards if we killed it the normal way anyway, so we don't have to feel bad about them drawing a card off the Seek.
Heads off, you stinking punk!
Yikes. Noxious Gearhulk is very good.
We are large and in charge.
Tolsimir's not big enough to kill any of their creatures. Gains us some life, makes some 3/3s. Is there any way to have the mana to do both of these? Yeah, that looks like we have Stomping Ground for green, Indotha Triumph for green, Sparrow's Headquarters for the white, and 2 more. So yeah, we have the mana to do both of these. Which is necessary here to not just die to a hamster.
Run, Boo! Run!
Alright, Braid Tolsimir. Mind Stone from our opponent. Ooh, that is a draw. This is a very good draw. And Tuco Slicer's pretty real. best card from each graveyard into our hands. I could pick up another Escape to the Wilds. What's going to be in their graveyard? Minskinboo, Prosper, Braid? Escape to the Wilds, Prosper? Seems kind of hilarious. Might try to do that. So whenever we play a card from exile, get a treasure token, while we've got Escape to the Wilds popping off. Play it really safe here. Preserve my life total, because if I don't just die very quickly, Escape to the Wilds Prosper gives me a lot of inevitability here. I'm just going to play a lot more cards than my opponent can. I'm going to go through my deck really quick though, so I need to make sure I don't mill out, but pretty sure I can turn another draw 5 into a victory pretty quickly. If I can get this all to resolve and I don't just die like right now. Tenacious Underdog. Standard all-star right now. A 2-mana 3/2 that just keeps coming back from the graveyard. Burn down the house, get some devils to shoot me for a bunch of damage as they die. Alright, snap trade. There's an Uro, that's some life gain, that's very exciting. So I'm going to play Prosper first, I think. So I get as much treasure as possible. Then I play land, get a treasure. Fable, get a treasure. And I don't actually feel like I want to meat hook that badly. Right, because I don't gain life off of it. If I gained life off of it, I'd absolutely meat hook, but which doesn't feel great. I think I would rather just let meat hook die and just Uro here. I could still just meat hook for 0. Chupacabra coming up. Alright, so I just need to make sure I don't mill myself, but I'm still going to cast this Escape to the Wilds and to just play 1,000 cards. Angerback Walker. When that dies, they get 4/1/1 flyers, right? Yeah, that's not good. That's not good. That's a thing that could kill me. Not very into that. Like to exile that if possible. Chupacabra doesn't even look that good here at blowing up any of this stuff, so I'm just gonna Escape to the Wilds. Well, these are good cards. Titan of Industry has reach, which is very important. I think I'll play the Titan of Industry for reach here. An extra life gain. And then I can play Uro from grave, gain a bunch of life again. Okay. I'm probably going to mill out here because I need to get through all these 1/1s now and my meat hook is gone. I don't think I have a way to bounce it back to my hand. The only alternative, though, to playing it on the board here was to just not have it at all. Just have it exiled permanently. Fable of the Mirrorbreaker Titan of Industry is a win condition, though. Because the Fable gets to copy the Titan, and I get to blow up one of their Thopters every time I do that. And make another 4/4. Yeah, no, Fable the Mirrorbreaker plus Titan of Industry might be quick enough. Yeah, they're going to scoop them up here. Happy about that. Now I have to have zero stress about milling myself out. That is a big stress relief there, not having to figure out how to get the kill real quick. But yeah, without any interaction, definitely Fable the Mirrorbreaker, Titan of Industry seems like the quickest way to do that. Copy the Titan, get a 4/4, blow up a flyer, attack with the copy of the Titan. They have to make some chumps or take 7. That does kill them probably quicker than I mill out. Alright, so here we are now in Game 6. We are 3-2 now, having at least an average 50-50 run in our first Chromatic Cube draft. And this is an excellent hand. We can Temple on green for Uro turn 3 and hopefully Oracle turn 4 if we can draw into some lands here. We are running an 18 land deck, trying to keep that count a little bit higher than normal. Potentially this deck should even be a 19 land deck. Just 50% of the deck should be lands here. So we did hit 1 land, which is very good. Our opponent has Lutri, which is incredible. This is probably the highest pick in the whole cube, because you can put it into literally any deck, because the cube is a singleton format, and it will always be your companion. So again, as I said previously about companions, even if having your 8th card in hand be a Lutri only increases your win percentage by like 2% per game, you get it every single game. So if you play 7 games, you've added, 14% to your total win percentage over time. So Lutri's the most busted one because it just auto includes into your deck if you have blue or red. Shouldn't play this land until after I play Oracle, but I could play Cruelty instead. Take some hits from Lannery, but I'm at 21 thanks to Uro. I think that's okay to me. Do the full Cruelty value. We haven't done that yet. Full Cruelty value is pretty fun. We get to know exactly what we're playing against here too. Exactly what we need to tutor. Ooh, get rid of a Mole Drifter and they're just land counterspell. So they're almost definitely holding up counterspell here, which is rough for us. Oh no, they're going to use the Otawara to return the Cruelty of Gix and then counter it with their spell because they have the treasure tokens to do so. That's fancy. That's pretty fancy. Yeah, I mean, I'd rather this get countered than anything else here, I think. Although, I mean, no, if Oracle gets countered, I can return it with Cruelty of Gix later. So it's actually just better if Oracle gets countered than anything, and we get this thing out of the way. If Oracle doesn't get countered, I need a white source up for touch if I have 2 lands on top. Alright, cool. So we got the counterspell out of the way, so now we can Cruelty of Gix back the Oracle. Also force them to spend the treasures so we don't take extra Lannery damage. Take another 2. They play a land. Debating whether or not to put the Lutri in their hand with the 3 mana companion cost here. They're not going to do it. They're threatening some form of interaction here. Probably just counter the cruelty. Still at 17, just taking 2 from Lannery. Just go for it. Let them counter if they have it. The only other play we have this turn is Touch the Spirit Realm. Okay. Not going to counter it. I can't imagine they have a creature or planeswalker in their hand here. They didn't want to just slam down, so I'm just going to go to the tutor. I could even immediately just go for the Resurrection. I'm actually going to go for the Resurrection here. Losing a couple life to draw a card here seems a little painful. We already have plenty ways to win this game. We're ahead of our opponent card advantage, so I'm just going to immediately recur Oracle. Ooh. Or their Mole Drifter, though? Have to imagine Oracle's a tiny bit better. Mole Drifter gives us immediate ETB value and then trades into Captain Lannery, though. I'm gonna go Mole Drifter. Alright, Oracle's only better if we hit more lands off the top. I like being able to threaten to just trade here. Okay, I'm very happy with my choice, because Oracle would have done absolutely nothing if they just instant speed removal here. Okay. So yeah, Mole Drifter was a great choice there. Alright, we have Tolsimir mana next turn, which is good. We can kill Lannery while getting a blocker. Oh no, a Niv Mizzet. Alright, well, we'll exile a Niv Mizzet. Unless they have a 2 mana counterspell here. Don't think I have the mana to exile Niv Mizzet and play the Tolsimir. Yeah, 7 mana. I only have 4 mana up after I exile Niv. Could Voracious Hydra for 5 and fight Niv Mizzet instead, but that runs into a lot more counterspells. Runs into instant speed interaction to like bounce our card and stuff like that. They just have like unsummon. Yep, let's just touch a Niv Mizzet. Cool. Lannery's done a lot of damage this game, and the treasure tokens have come in very handy for our opponent frequently. Lutri finally going to the hand here. Chupacabra is a good draw. Seems like a very reasonable play, but I'm going to go for Tolsimir instead. Accomplishes the same thing while gaining some life. I don't know what the timing on that was, but they definitely could have sacked a treasure to trade at least there. But the timing might have been weird, where it was like the moment we targeted, it did that, so they would have had to do it in response to Tolsimir. Wow, they have Inspired Ultimatum Lutri. That seems pretty good. That seems pretty good. We probably just lose. Our opponent draws 10 cards here, gains 10 life, and we take 10. That's some that's some cube nonsense right there. That is not good for us in the slightest. Yep, that's devastating. That's one of the most disgusting Lutri plays I think I've ever ran up against. And yeah, if you have an Inspired Ultimatum in your deck, having Lutri in the companion slot is absolutely absurd. Guaranteed double ultimatum every game that you draw the ultimatum. Yeah, that is horrendous. We don't have any way to gain life here. Could put their ultimatum in my hand with Nantuko Slicer. Then I don't have the mana to do anything else this turn. Probably about as safe a play as I can make here. All I can do is like kill a Lutri, but I have 3 blockers for it anyway. So I don't think the 3/2 on the board is what I'm dying to. It's probably a burn spell from their hand, which I have no way to interact with. Pick up an Uro. I wish I had one more mana though for that. Alright, fingers crossed. No Fireball, no Bane Fire to end us off here. But if I die to a double Inspired Ultimatum, so be it. It's kind of a cool way to die. Yep. There's the Fireball. Brutal. We know they top decked that Inspired Ultimatum at some point. Right? Because we crueltied them. We knew their hand was literally just blank card Lutri in the end. Yeah, if they didn't hit like a big Inspired Ultimatum style spell, we're getting in a pretty great position there, but 10 damage to us, they gain 10 and draw 10 cards is going to completely flip the game around, and we are going to lose that final game of Magic, just showing off how splashy, how flip-floppy, how all over the place the Cube games can get. So that is going to be 3-3 to end the first Chromatic Cube draft. A little disappointed in the record here. I think if I had the 18 lands in the first place, I would have had a better shot in that first match, but overall pretty happy with the deck itself. I think it's very powerful. All these big, massive plays, really, really excellent mana base with all these duels and such. Just had a couple games where we drew a little slow or got absolutely comboed off with that Lutri Inspired Ultimatum. So yeah, not a bad run. 3-3, I'll take it. Average run to start it off, but I will be back again with 2 more of these Chromatic Cube drafts the next couple days, and then we have the Brothers War Early Access event in about 4 days now this weekend, and the Brothers War paper pre-release is going to be this weekend as well. For anybody who wants to play that new set, definitely go to your local game store, check that out. It'll be a very fun time. But yeah, if you just want to stick around and see some more Chromatic Cubes, a couple more coming in the next couple days. So as always, thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.